I'm going to show you how to build a trellis for a raspberry patch. I've got about 35 feet between the two posts that you see on the end here, and we're going to build a cross on each of them at the top and on closer to the bottom, and string some wire between them. And then that wire will be a support for the raspberries so that when they start to come in and they get kind of heavy, they won't droop down to the ground where, the rabbits and the squirrels can get to them. And you'll also get more yield doing this too, because you can separate the berries between the front and the back so that light can get down into the center for the new shoots coming up. So I went to the store today and picked up a couple of 4x4x8s, and I really tried to pick ones that didn't have a lot of knots in them so that they'll look nice, especially from at least the viewable side when you're walking up to the raspberry patch here. And also because knots can be problematic if you're trying to screw into them with lag bolts. So I found two good pieces. These were also kind of dry. Sometimes if you get them wet, as they dry, they'll begin to warp on you. You're going to need a radial saw, a miter saw will be beneficial, and some 12 gauge galvanized wire. And that's a solid wire that I picked up by the drop ceilings at my big box store. I got a couple of caps for the top just to make it look nice. Some stainless steel eye hooks to put the wire through. Some galvanized bolts and some galvanized washers. It'll be good to have a speed square and everything else, just some levels, a hammer, some gloves, basic stuff like that. So let's get started. I'll show you what we're going to do. On this one, what I want to do is I want to keep the face of this looking really nice. I want this to all be exposed as one piece. So we're going to come around the back side here, and we're going to notch into it here. We're going to notch into it about 20 inches below that down here too, and just take out these pieces. And then we're going to do the same thing on our posts over here, and then we're going to bolt into it on the back side here. Now, since we've got this marked up, what I've got to do is I've got to get the level spot on the other end. So we're going to put a piece of string, and we're going to staple it in here, and we're going to staple it in at the other end, and we're going to try to get a level spot. So I've got my string between the two posts, I've checked it, it's level, and now we can mark this post on the end. I cut the top piece to 41 inches and the bottom one to 29, and from the siding over to the edging here, it's about 5 feet. So just to give you some of the parameters for what I'm doing. Now, the end caps here, I cut these so that the ends are pressure treated because I want those on the outside where you're going to be more likely to see them, and then they'll wear better because once you cut them, that inside part of the wood has not really been penetrated with the treatment that they do at the factory. So just a little tip for you to make sure you get the end caps on the outside, not the cut edge. So on my circular saw, I adjusted it to 1 3/4 inch depth so that we go halfway through our post right here. And I've marked it off. This is the smaller one. And we're going to cut probably like 10 or 15 times between those lines right there. And now we're going to start on the posts. So same thing, going to use the circular saw, and I'm going to notch out. The only thing I'm doing differently here is I'm using a tarp to cover up my raspberry plants. I don't want the sawdust to get in there because it's loaded with pesticides. That's really what the pressure treatment is. It's just pesticides. Alright, so I picked up 3/8 inch by 3.5 inch galvanized bolts, and we drilled 4 holes here, and we're going to bolt this in. And the last thing I've got to do with this end is just crop the top so that it matches the other side. So I'm going to get in there, use my speed square, and cut off 6 inches above. I need to be 6 inches above that top cross. Alright, now we're going to put the cap on the top here. I got this at the store. It means about $8. And we're going to put them on each end just to make it look a little nicer. I'm using 1.5 inch finishing nail for this. It's good to put it in right where there's a joint, so it kind of hides the nail. That's it. Okay, I've got these stainless steel eye bolts that we're gonna put in. Today we're just gonna put in the bottom trellis wiring, because I don't really need the top just yet. Some guys like to use the ones that you can tighten up, and those are fine too. I mean, it's just a matter of preference. These are cheaper, and I think with the 12 gauge wire they'll work just fine. I'm gonna have to get some pliers though to turn it. It's getting a little tight. Okay, now we're ready to hang our wire up, and I picked up some 12 gauge 100-foot length, and you're going to need a set of electrician's pliers, because these can cut it. These are really heavy duty. Alright, now I'll just quickly show you how I tied it up on the other end. The way I did it was, because I don't have the self-tightening screws, I'm just using the little eyelets here. I'm just pulling it as hard as I can, and then that. And I'm bringing it up and through. And pulling that as hard as I can. And then doing it one more time up through the eye as hard as you can, and then wrapping it around the wire. In case we need to tighten it down the road, we can loosen it up and redo it. So we're leaving some slack here. Come in here, clip it, and then I'm just gonna, so this doesn't poke anybody, I'm gonna bend it back, kind of crimp it down, and there you go. Pretty tight. Alright, so here's the finished product, and I've put the wires on the bottom here, you can see. Next year we'll probably put a post in the middle over here once the raspberries come in a little bit more, because this is about 35 feet, they're going to need the extra support. And there you go. Just taking you around, showing you some close-ups of what it looks like. Hope you like it. I hope this gave you some information to help you build your own. And thanks for watching, and please subscribe.